couple of things in the overview of the sutra. Avalokiteshvara is her name, his name, is translated two different ways. Originally translated as the one who looks deeply. And then later on, like 300 or 400 years later, they started translating it as the one who hears the cries of the world. So it's really just a little bit different. But in both cases, it's you. It's me. It's the Buddha. Remember, as the story goes, the Buddha was really rich, well off, no problems. And his father kept him in this kind of ideal prison with beautiful women, lots of food, lots of education. But he was motivated out of compassion when he saw suffering in the world to get to the bottom of it. And also, we're motivated just spontaneously to take away suffering. I don't know if you've ever noticed that about yourself, but certainly over the weekend, you know, we get this news again, it's people being shot up in a shopping mall. Who hears that and doesn't want to take away that suffering? Everyone wants to take away that suffering the moment they hear that. We might feel some grief, we might feel some sadness, we might feel some anger, maybe all kinds of things. You know, we think, so all up here is political stuff, or this shouldn't happen, you know, but further down, just from our center, it's just empathy. This thing we cherish so much, being alive, it instantly makes us empathize with that loss. That's your true nature. That's your Buddha nature in action. And if you begin to puzzle about those kinds of events, that's looking deeply. So you become Avalokiteshvara. And you can trust that. You actually already have what you need then to navigate your world. Now, our world isn't Texas or a suburb of Dallas. You know, our world is here. But the world needs us. The world needs you to practice, and it needs you to understand what a human being is. As you do that, you help this world. So that's the impulse. That's looking deeply. That's us becoming Avalokiteshvara. Unlike Western Christian or Judeo-Christian traditions, it's not us and God. We're Buddha. And Buddha said, I'm not a God. Buddha said, I am awake. I'm a human being and I'm awake. And that awakeness has shown me how to get out of suffering, and so I'm going to teach as many people as I can. So his motivation was just to teach. And then our motivation is to just experiment, to look into it. That's all we have to do is look deeply. And the thing occurs. So it's actually better than my talk, you know, because it's the thing you're doing. You're walking the walk when you just look deeply. And when we come together like this and support each other in looking deeply, we're strengthening a kind of concentration muscle. We're strengthening a kind of attention muscle. And when all of us leave here, including myself, there will be 10,000 distractions. And we'll be distracted. People selling us stuff, people inviting us to do stuff, the phone ringing, the text messages. It's hilarious, yeah? So that mind that we all have suddenly starts goes to here, goes to there, goes to the screen, goes to the text, goes to the traffic signal, goes to the schedule, goes to who I'm meeting for dinner, goes to how long it takes to get home. See that mind moving all around? No, it has to move around. We're not judging it. What we're doing is paying attention. Oh, that's what the mind is supposed to be doing now. But we brought it in to one place for the last 30 minutes and we looked deeply. We just observed. It's very simple. I'm saying looking deeply, but looking deeply is just looking. The deeply happens by itself. All we do is pay attention. And what happens when we pay attention is we become more focused. And earlier I said, welcome everything in. As we become more focused, we're going to notice what we haven't been noticing. And sometimes it's pretty unpleasant. Sometimes it's something I don't like about myself. Sometimes it's a big mistake I've made. So we're welcoming all that in and we're just looking at it. And if we need to do something about it, we can say, do I need to do something about this? And sometimes the answer is no. There's nothing to do. And sometimes the thing itself will say, yeah, there is something to do. So the next chance you speak to this person, or the next chance you tidy this thing up, you button it up, or you unbutton it, whatever it needed to do. That's our life. And we don't know when it's going to end, right? We're all confident it will end. None of us know when. So its preciousness is amplified by this insight that it's not guaranteed. And it's a little unsettling when somebody very close to us just disappears. And we might anticipate that and even begin to grieve. So something appears like grief over the loss, or grief over the loss of freedom, some idea, some story. Before we can let go of the story, we're letting go of our grief. We're grieving, we're experiencing it. Then we can let go of the story, because the story is always empty. It's always just a story. And we don't want it to cut ourselves off from what's happening right now. So it's this ability to return to now. Ability to return to now is the other thing we're cultivating. You were all doing it for 30 minutes there, remarkably well. Same for you guys. So in this sutra, towards the end, well, and in some translations it says, Avalokiteshvara suddenly perceives. All 5 skandhas are empty. Skandhas are just form, feeling, perception, impulse, and consciousness. So form, this is usually the first form we all notice. It's the one most important to us, and it's the one that causes us the most trouble. Also the most delight. So it's a package deal. So form, she's seeing that it's empty. So if we look deeply at this, we'll see, oh, it's in a constant state of change. And if we look deeply at it during a yoga nidra class, we'll notice, oh, there's actually no boundary. Yeah, my eyes see a boundary right about here, but if I just sense that boundary gets farther and farther away. And if we're in some deep meditation, if we look for the center of this, or if we look for the periphery of this, we can't find it. So that's very interesting. The whole thing gets quite wide and soft and starts to include everything. Then suddenly we don't have a sense of distinction. So Avalokita is seeing that suddenly, and then that insight goes away. Then she sees it again, suddenly. And then it goes away. Then she sees it again, suddenly. But then it goes away. Because even insight is impermanent. The Buddha's insight was impermanent. The Buddha's enlightenment was impermanent. When we see into exactly what we're doing, exactly what's going on, in our tradition, we call that enlightenment. Can you see this paper? Can you hear it? How much cultivation did that take? That's your birthright as a human being. The only next step is, what's the function of that? That's your true nature. Then, how does it function? And the easy answer is, besides this, the easy answer is, how can I help? And the remarkable thing is, you can reverse engineer it. If you don't trust, I'm a human being, I'm Avalokiteshvara, I don't know what's going on, I'm confused, I feel this, I feel that, I have all kinds of conflict. If you're like that, no problem. Because as the sutra points out, the mind is no hindrance. That's all mind, right? Maybe heart mind. So that can all be going on, and then you can just help. You know, oh, how can I help? You can reverse engineer enlightenment just by helping. You don't have to sweat. Oh, am I a Buddha? Am I really being clear? No, just help. And that starts with you, like, oh, I need a nap. Oh, or I need to fix dinner for myself. Or, oh, I need to go to bed, I'm tired. Or, oh, I need to get up. There's more to do. It's that simple. But this world, the things that come in and distract us, they take us off our center. But our center is always there. So Avalokiteshvara is so startled by this insight, she utters this mantra. And in the Buddha's time, there wasn't as much science as we have now. Nowadays, science is kind of magic. Yeah? Who doesn't think their cell phone is magic? Right? Who doesn't get on an airplane and at least for a minute think, how the fuck does this stay up in the air? I mean, at least for a minute. But it stays up because we trust science. Yeah. But in Buddha's day, not so much science. Yeah? Mantras were considered magical. They were considered to have energy. And so the mantra focuses and also illuminates the experience. So Avalokiteshvara sees into this reality and utters this mantra. Gate, gate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. So gate is gone. So she says it twice, gate, gate, gone, gone, going, going, beyond. Then going beyond the beyond. So paragate, so gate is going, paragate, going beyond. Then parasamgate, the sam is plural. The sam is everybody. Not just Avalokiteshvara. So not just you. When you become clear, everybody becomes clear all at once. That's wild, huh? I mean, this is an incomprehensible point. So stay with me. All right. Gate, gate, parasangate. Everybody all at once reaches the other shore. And then, this is such a delight, Bodhisvaha is kind of like hallelujah, huzzah, or hooray. Hallelujah, she's just delighted. So going beyond the beyond, all together, everybody, hallelujah. That's her feeling when she sees into everything is empty, and we can use that emptiness to help. We can use moment by moment by moment that we're in to help. Thich Nhat Hanh does this beautiful thing. He says, Gate means gone. So we're gone from suffering to the liberation from suffering. Then we're gone from forgetfulness to mindfulness. It's really straightforward. Gone from duality to non-duality, to the other shore. This mantra is saying this in the most strongest terms. And if we look at this other shore, it's right here. One teacher, Stephen Batchelor, he has a line in one of his books. He says, practicing Buddhism is like getting into a boat and rowing. And you leave the shore. And you row, and you're suddenly engulfed in a dense fog. You can't see the shore that you left, and you can't see anything in front of you. But you just keep practicing, you just keep rowing, and then suddenly, boom, you bump onto a shore. And it's the other shore. So you get out of your boat, you start walking along, and as you walk, you realize this was just where I was. But the view has changed. The person in the boat has changed their view. So that everything they now come upon, they use to help. To help themselves and to help this world. Now, it doesn't mean we're in a world where things don't go wrong. It doesn't mean we're in a world where there are no earthquakes in Turkey, or the countries aren't invading each other and blasting each other to smithereens. It doesn't mean that. We've had war and earthquakes and tsunamis since before the Buddha's time, yeah? What it means is we find the function of the tsunami. We find the function of the war. We find the function of the anger arising in us when we see an injustice. We find the function of the fear that arises in us when we're afraid of our own death. We find the functional of that. Why? Because we're looking deeply. And Avalokiteshvara suddenly sees this. We see this suddenly, and then we lose it. Then we see it suddenly again. And you do not have to sweat losing it. That's a natural, organic process of our attention. It's a process of being alive. It's also more stuff's coming up. Because it's the whole. But our point of view in the beginning is from my point of view. Or your point of view, yeah? Everybody likes movies. We all watch TV. I do. And in the business, there's a thing called POV, point of view. And the really easy example of a point of view is when our heroine needs a gun and she opens the freezer door and she reaches in and gets the gun and the camera is in the back of the freezer. You might not have noticed it, but you can see our heroine's face. You can see the gun in the foreground. She reaches in and gets the gun out of the freezer. The camera's in a hole in the back of the freezer. Follow? That's a POV, a point of view. And we all know the one where the main character is splayed out on the ground and then the camera floats up in a slow circle. And some directors call this God's POV. And we're wondering, oh, has the character gone to heaven or are they still alive? Something like that. So TV and film are constantly creating a point of view. When we look deeply, we see in and we perceive so deeply, the perceiver disappears and the thing we're looking at disappears. So there's just perception. There's just the view and our relationship to it. But this sense of our falls away. That's the hurrah, hallelujah. Because where is suffering? It's inside O-U-R. It's inside M-Y, my suffering. It's inside I. And if we take away the glass, the suffering can't stay anywhere. I, my, me is like a glass with orange juice in it. Orange juice is the suffering. We take away the glass, where's the orange juice going to stay? Now, we create the glass, boom, the orange juice has someplace to be. But when we look deeply, with an open heart, then we simply become the view. Briefly. And then the I, my, me comes back. But we get a chance to see, oh, all of this is malleable. All of this is actually subject to change. And I can pay attention to that change. So much that the I disappears, even briefly. And then there's just moment by moment by moment. I like to call it rinse and repeat. Maybe some of you are old enough to know the instructions on the shampoo bottle. They tell you exactly how to wash your hair and then say rinse and repeat. So it's like that. Very interesting. So in Parasamgate, the entire community of beings, everyone is going. All of us are going together. You may not have that sense. Don't worry about it. It's incomprehensible. Our practice is just trusting it and looking deeply. You can use suffering as a sign, oh, let's look deeply. Usually with suffering, for me, I push it away. That's my first reaction. Then I go, oh, not correct. Come on in. Okay, now what do I have to look at? Oh, I don't want to look at that. Yeah. So now we're going to look at not wanting to look at it. Okay, that's done. Now we're going to look at it. So it's like that. And then we just try again. And we don't have necessarily, we don't know. And it's a willingness to not know. When we're looking at something deeply, we're not looking at it like we already know it. We're looking at it out of curiosity. We're looking at it the way a 5-year-old would look at it when they're playing, all by themselves, with a kind of innocence and a kind of joy. Like, what's next? What's coming up? And we can be that playful about it. We can be that relaxed about it. And if we can't be relaxed about it, then we just look at why we're so cranked. Why am I so wrapped around the axle about this? Is the phrase I use for myself. And I'll feel it in my body. So that's body wisdom trying to tell the heart mind, yo, look at this. My stomach is turning, my chest is tight, I have indigestion, my neck really hurts. No, I don't want to look at any of that. No, I want to drive, I want to watch TV, I want to go do so. I'll do anything. Visit somebody, have a cocktail. What? Look? No, then a few days, time to go to practice, time to be at the Zen Center, check in, put on the robes. Oh, now, no choice. Now it's my job. So we can always opt out, but it won't change. And if we go right in, then we solve it faster. And the sooner we solve it, we have some reconciliation with ourselves, extend some kindness and love to ourselves. That skill, that capacity, we're able to offer to our family, to our coworkers, to total strangers we run into, to whatever comes up. So that's the bulk of the talk today. That's a little bit of the teaching of the Heart Sutra. And generally in Buddhist teaching, you probably have already noticed this, it starts to inform all these other things you've ever heard. So Franz will give a talk, and it'll reflect some of the same points I'm making, and then Jokai will give a talk, the same thing begins to happen. Because the Buddha's teaching is quite simple, then he just developed it to address different kinds of minds. And then all of us are different in our style, so we're going to approach it kind of in our own way, but there's also a universal component to it. So thanks for your attention.